You can turn subtitles on by clicking this symbol in the bottom right corner. By clicking the cog next to this, you can also adjust the playback speed to make the speech whatever speed you feel comfortable listening to. In the description below, you can find web links to all the websites, videos and resources that are mentioned during this video.
Welcome to section 5. In the last section, we looked at some of the potential long-term health effects of type 2 diabetes if blood glucose levels are not kept within target. In this section, we will look at different types of carbohydrate foods and discover the amount of glucose they break down into. We will also look at portion sizes of carbohydrate foods. Be carbohydrate aware. Use your hand as a guide. All carbohydrate foods break down into glucose, which provides us with energy. We do need carbohydrate foods as part of a healthy diet, but we just need to be aware of the portion size that we have and not eat large amounts of each carbohydrate food. Here we can see a guide to some carbohydrate food portions. There are more suggestions on the British Heart Foundation website. Here are more suggestions from the British Heart Foundation website. It is good to base your meals around small portions of high fibre, starchy carbohydrate foods. If you are unsure about how much carbohydrate you should eat, ask your healthcare professional for further advice.
We've previously mentioned that carbohydrate foods, when we eat them, are going to break down into glucose, also known as sugar. We know that sugar gives us energy, but it can put up our blood sugars if we have too much too often. We're now going to look at some carbohydrate foods and drinks to see how much sugar they contain or how much sugar they break down into, as this will have an impact on our blood sugars.
So we've got some plates of pasta here. This is 88 grams of pasta, which is quite a small plate of pasta. And we've got a bit of a game for you now. What I would like you to do is think about how many sugar cubes you think this breaks down to in our bodies. So do you think this breaks down into 2, 7 or 10 sugar cubes in our body? The answer is actually 10 sugar cubes. This is the equivalent to 30 grams of carbohydrate. Did you get that right? So it might be that you fancy a larger plate of pasta. And here we have 203 grams of pasta. So again, I would like you to guess how many sugar cubes you think this breaks down to in our bodies. Do you think this is 11, 15 or 23 sugar cubes that it breaks down to in our body? The answer is 23 sugar cubes. Did you get that right? Now, pasta can come in all different shapes and sizes. And as we can see, the larger plate compared to the smaller plate of pasta breaks down into a lot more sugar cubes. And that is going to have a real impact on our blood sugar levels. So we're going to look at some fruit now. So fruit is good for us. We need them for vitamins and fibre. Here I have a small apple. And again, what I would like you to do is to guess how many sugar cubes you think this small apple would break down to in our bodies. Do you think this breaks down into 3, 5, or 7 sugar cubes in our body? What do you think? It actually breaks down into 3 sugar cubes. Did you get that right? Now let's compare that to a 500 millilitre bottle of apple juice, or half a litre. Now, how many sugar cubes do you think this would break down to in our bodies? 3, 10, or 18 sugar cubes? What do you think? It actually breaks down into 18 sugar cubes in our bodies. Did you get that right? There is no fibre in this apple juice, so there's no work that the body has to do to break this down. So this will raise our blood sugars very quickly. If we compare that to the apple contains lots of fibre, so although it will break down into sugars in our bodies, the body has work to do because of the fibre. So if we're having a choice between the two, for what is healthiest for our bodies, the apple or the apple juice, the apple is going to be the most healthiest.
So, Laura's just spoken about a couple of carbohydrate foods. We're going to look at a few more now to give us a better idea. The pasta was a starchy carbohydrate, and we're going to look at a few more starchy carbohydrates now. First one we're going to look at is the potato. So we've got potato here. It is a starchy carbohydrate, but as you remember, we know that carbohydrates do break down into glucose in the stomach. This potato is about the size of my fist, and it's a good sized potato. It's going to break down to equivalent of 16 cubes of sugar. But it is a starchy carbohydrate, so although it's going to break down to equivalent of 16 cubes of sugar, it's going to do that slowly. We've got lots of nutrients, vitamins and fibre in a potato, so that will actually slow down the breakdown of that glucose. So it's a good source of energy. So we have a medium-sized croissant here. Again, this is a starchy carbohydrate, so we know it's going to break down to glucose in our body. So we do need to be mindful of size portions. This medium-sized croissant is going to break down into equivalent of 7 cubes of sugar when we eat it. We also have some other samples here of carbohydrate foods. We have 3 tablespoons of a long grain white rice. It might be a basmati or just long grain, but we have 3 tablespoons. The white rice is going to break down to the equivalent of 10 cubes of sugar. But remember, because it's a starchy carbohydrate, it will break down slowly. But like the pasta, if I have a larger portion, there's going to break down into more cubes of sugar. We also have 2 slices of medium brown bread. I know they do come in different sizes, lots of different types of breads, so you would need to look on the packet to make sure you've got the right carbohydrate amount for your bread. But we have 2 medium slices here, and they will break down to the equivalent of 8 cubes of sugar. Right, so we know the 3 tablespoons of white rice are going to break down to 10 cubes of sugar, equivalent of, and we know that 2 slices of medium brown bread are going to break down to the equivalent of 8 cubes of sugar. But what if the rice was brown and the bread was white? What difference would that make to the amount of cubes of sugar? It actually won't make any difference. If this was brown rice, it would still break down to equivalent of 10 cubes of sugar. And if this was 2 slices of medium white bread, again, it would break down to equivalent of 8 cubes of sugar. So what is the difference? Is one better than the other for us? The fibre actually slows down the process. So if we've got more fibre, although it's still going to break down, the carbohydrate's still going to break down into glucose, it's actually going to go into our body a lot slower, which gives our body a chance to work a little bit better, which means they're going to keep us fuller for longer. So we're now going to look at some drinks. I have here a full sugar fizzy drink. This one's cola. How many sugar cubes do you think is going to be in this can of cola? When we drink this can of cola, it's going to break down to the equivalent of 12 cubes of sugar. I have another drink here. It actually says 0 sugar. So it's cola, a can, 330 ml, the same as the other one. But how many cubes of sugar do you think this one is going to break down to? The one that says 0, or it may say diet. It's not going to break down to any cubes of sugar. It's 0 sugar. If we look on the back of the tin or the back of the bottle, it would say carbohydrate 0. So it means it's not going to break down to any carbohydrate. If it's not going to break down to any carbohydrate, it's not going to have any impact on our blood sugar. It's not going to put our blood sugar up. But why does it taste sweet? It's because it has sweeteners, and those sweeteners do not have an impact on our blood glucose.
We hope you have learned something new from this video. This concludes section 5. In the next section, we will be looking at fats and healthy food choices.